Hello everyone, welcome to our channel BISP Solution. Now let's start our today's session. So this is our today's topic that is a stock locator, and we have the physical inventory counting and the cyclic counting, right? So let's start with the locator and locator control. So a locator is a physical area within a subject within a sub inventory where you store the material or a specific area such as row, rack, beans, shelf. These are the area in our inventory, right? And so any inventory we have the sub inventories. Under the sub inventories we can create the multiple row, racks, bin for our item into a locator. So with the help of the locator, you can create and you can receive item into the row, rack, bins, and you can also ship your item from your sub inventory as well. So the sub inventory can contain one and more locator. It means that's within any sub inventory we can create the multiple locators. So in the accordance to your organization or a business requirement, you can create the locator. So a locator is a flex field in Oracle Fusion application, and as we see in the chart of account, structure accounts and the department, the same in the case of the inventory application. With the help of the locator flex field, we can create the row, racks, bin, or shelf in our inventory application. So for that, first we have to create inventory value set in our application. Then we have to create the locator flex field structure. And after that, we can create the structure instance. And after creating the instance, we can create a row, rack, bin in this segment value. So it is just same that and we create in finance part like a chart of account, and it is same, right? So let's move to our instance and we'll see how to perform this locator in our application, right? So let's go to our implementation project. Click on this setting and maintenance, setup and maintenance. Click on this task. Manage implementation projects. Click on this project name. Right. Now let's search. The task name is manage inventory value set. Click on the task. Right. So we have the manage inventory value set, descriptive flex field, and we have the locator key flex field, right? Right. Now click on this create icon. So we have the Tata Steel row. You can define the same name under the description over here. And what is Right. And what is the validation type? That is independent. Value data type is character. Right. Now we have the value subtype is text. And what is the maximum length we have to define over here? That is, like, we have the 15. Right. Now let's click on close. Right. So let's search it. Tata. Right. So in the same way, we can create the for the value set for the row rack bean. So row is created. Now create for the rack. That is, we have the Tata still rack. Let's copy it and define description the same. We have the inventory management. Let's define the validation type is dependent. So this rack type is character, and the same is value set type is text. Right. We have to define this 15, and as this rack is depend on row, so we have to define the value set code. Right. So let's search. Starter. Select our row and right. 7 close. So in this way we can create the rack which is dependent on the row. In the same way we can create the bean also, and the bean also depend on the row, right? And you can also define the rack depend on the rack, the bean is depend on the rack, right? So let's define our Tata still bin. Let's copy it and define the same name in the description, and we have to select our module inventory management. This validation type is also dependent. We have the data type is character, text. Let's define the maximum length code. So this bean is depend on which row or rack. So in this structure, I'm going to define this bean is depend on the row. So right, okay. 7 close. Close. Now let's define the structure for this inventory. For performing the locator in our application, so this is manage inventory locator key flags field, right? So click on this task, go to task, right? So it is already deployed. Let's click on this one and click on this manage structure, on this create. So I'm going to create a structure for this application. So what is the structure code? That is data still flags field, right? Copy the name, define same the name and description also. And what is the delimiter? You can define like this one, right? And in the way of creating the segment, the option is not save icon. After that, this option will get enable, right? So click on this create icon and create row, rack, and bean. These are the structure. Row is our segment. If it is duplicate, so it will display the error. What is the sequence? Sequence is 1. What is the prompt? You can define the same in the short prompt. Display width, so I'm going to define this 25, right? And what is the column name? It is segment 1. And we have to define the value set code, which is we created earlier. So for the row is data still row. So this is data row. Select this, click OK. Right, we have to define the, there is not showing error, not it showing the segment identifier not row is not valid. Let's define one. Yeah, not sure. Let's click on this app and let's create two more, one for the rack and second for the bin. So these are the segment, right? So let's define the rack. We have the rack 1 and the rack in the same. Let's copy it and paste it in the description also, in the prompt also. And we have the sequence number 2. What is the short prompt? You can say, copy. And what is the display width? I'm going to define this is 25. And you can define the range type over here. And what is the column name? I'm going to enter the segment 2. This is the segment 2. And we have to define the default value set code. Let's define data over here. Let's search it out. Wait for a while. It will display. So let's select rack and click OK. In the same way, we will create the bin also. Click on create. That is bin 1. That is API name that is used while we application to other application. So it will help you the API name, right? So let's copy it and paste it into the prompt, which is the same, is 25. Column name is segment, and we have the default value. Right, let's search. This has been, click OK. Right, save and close. So in this way we can create a structure for this inventory management, right? We have the row rack pin, save and close. Now let's create the structure instance. So select the record and click on this manage structure instance. Right, let's define the structure code name, that is data still. We have the code locator flex field, flex, right? If we have the, yes, no issue. API name is, I think, fetch. It's not fetching. Fetch, right? Now let's copy and paste the same to the name and description also, right? And we have to describe our structure name still flex field. It will show you the segment, right? And which segment do you want? You can enable it. You can enable from this one, right? So how can you enable? Suppose we want to row and rack, both are in our instance, right? So you can select this record and check this required option, so that this segment will impact on their instance, right? So select the record and click on this edit icon, and it will show you the option so that you can fetch this information. You can fetch the segment. We have the option required, hit OK, right? In the same way, select the rack and click on this edit, required, OK. And if you want to the bin also in your instance, so select record and click on this edit icon, and click on the checkbox of required, OK, right? So we have done all the things. Done. Now let's deploy this structure instance. The deployment status is edited. Select the record and click on this deploy flex field. Yes, the deployment completed successfully, right? It's okay. Right, and the deployment status is deployed, right? Now okay, now let's generate the value set under the segment value. So we don't have the option is manage inventory value set. Click on this, go to task, Let's search our segment value. Right, so start from the row and click on this manage value. Let's define the value. Suppose I'm going to define R1. Description is row gets enabled, is already enabled, and we have the start date and date. Right, you can define as per your requirement. Right, let's go with the single. You can add more rows from. Let's create one more for this row and manage value, so that we can have some scenarios. Right, we have the row 2 is R2 and row 2, right? In the same way, we can define the rack 1 2, right? So select the rack and click on this manage values. Click on create. So we have the RK1, this is rack, and we have the rack 1. Click on create. Yes, okay. So this rack is depends on the row, so we have to define over here. So rack 1 is depend on the R1, right? Click on create. In the same way, the RK2 is also defined, also depend on the R1 as per your requirement, right? So RK2 is rack 2, and this is depend on the R2 row 2, right? So this is all dependency, which rack is depend on which row, right? You can define over here. We have the bin. Click on manage value. Right, so we have the bin b1. This is bin 1, and bin 1 is depend on which row. Suppose p1 is depend upon the row 1. Let's create b2 bin 2 depend on the row 2, right? So this is all about the values, how we define the values in the value segment 7 close. Now we have to define the locator over here, right? So we have to go to the inventory. So this is inventory organization. Go with the procurement, manage inventory organization. Click on this go to task. Right, so search for our organization 001. right, click on this manage organization parameter. No locator control, right? So from in this task we have to go with the previous dynamic and locator control. We have the three options, and the last option is locator control determine at the sub inventory, right? So in our scenario I'm going with the dynamic, and we cannot set the locator control determine its sub inventory level because so we have the on hand quantity exist within the organization so that we cannot perform the sub inventory, right? You can quantity exist within the organization, right? Now I am selecting the dynamic. We have to select one, create one organization, that is uh, reference organization, so that we can perform this locator control task, right? Because this organization is totally a definition organization, right? And we cannot perform because under this organization we have the on in quantity, right? So we cannot go with this option. Let's cancel out. Let's go with the third option. Let's go with the third option. No, it's warning alternating, right? So let's take one scenario for that. So we have to create one sub inventory, and under this sub inventory, no issue. Let's create sub inventory, manage sub inventories. Manage sub inventory. Let's create one sub inventory. Right, we have the manage sub inventory locator. Click on this go to task. Select our organization 001. Click OK. Right, click on this create icon. This is our inventory organization. Let's create sub inventory, that is sub inv. Let's take 4 sub inventory 4, right? And this is locator control. You have to select the locator control at the item label dynamic entry, right? Previously defined. So let's go with the dynamic entry, and we have to select the locator structure over here. So we have to define our of instance inventory instance, right? Flexible instance, right? Select this one, and we have the 7 close. right? Hit OK. Now we have to select no issue. Let's perform the transactions. Miscellaneous transaction. Let's click on this navigator and go to the supply chain execution. Click on this inventory management. Let's click on this task. Right. So now let's create the miscellaneous transaction. Click on this miscellaneous transactions. Type is miscellaneous receipt. This is miscellaneous receipt. Costing yes. Let's create the now let's select our item. That is Tata. Now let's take first one and click OK. Right. Now we have the locator is disable over here. Let's select the sub inventory. Now we don't have this sub inventory. Yes, we have the sub inventory sub INV4. Click OK. Yes, the locator you can see gets enabled over here. When we select the other sub inventory, you can see it gets disabled because we have set the locator in this locator, and you can define your criteria, your combination. You can see which row you want, which rack, which bin. You can give this information, right? Suppose in our inventory we have defined the sub inventory, right? Under this sub inventory we have the item Tata 1001, right? So we want to place this item in our sub inventory. So where's the area, right? Suppose the row 1. So on which row this item plays? Under this row we have the racks. So under which rack we want to place, and we have the pins under the row for this same. So it will show you only one rack, I think. Yes, because the rack one is depends on R1. So when we select the R1 in the row, it will show you the dependent value of the rack, right? So if R1 have the multiple racks like RK1, RK2, RK3, so it will show you on this search icon, right? Suppose go with the RK1, right? And in the same way, when you select the R1, so under the R1, how many beans we have? So we have only one. So you can define also the multiple beans for the same row. So these are the combination, they are the segment. Right, so this is the locator. Let's define the quantity, how much quantity you want to define, right? Suppose I am going to enter 100. Let's go to the account combination. Let's select our account combination. So let's take the account is this one. Click OK. Right. So this is account. We have the location type, location, no issue. Let's click on submit. It will not show you any error. Right. So your transaction proceed with no issues. Now you can see the on and quantity. Let's click on. Sorry. Click on this task. Click on this manage item quantities. Right. So we have the item. Item name is Tata. So 1001 is our item. Search. So you can see we have the sub inventory 4 and having the 100 on hand, right? Let's expand it. You can see this is our locator RK1, R1, RK1 and B1, right? So in this way we can perform the locator control, or you can say the stock control in our application, right? It's done. Let's move to our PPT. This is now our next topic is inventory counting, right? So in the Oracle Fusion application, we have two types of inventory counting. One is physical inventory counting and another one is cycle inventory counting, right? So let's start with the physical, and later on we will cover the cycle inventory counting, right? So physical inventory counting or physical inventory counting is an structured approach to counting a company's stock, where the inventory staff uses a predetermined company's schedule of physical inventory count at the end of the reporting period, right? Mostly physical inventory counting is performed at once in a year, twice in a year, based on the business requirements, right? Physical inventory counting are an essential part of inventory organization to keeping record accurate, and these up-to-date inventory records provide a better forecast of the sales and purchase and ensure always have the right amount of product on hand quantity in our inventory organization, right? So suppose in our physical inventory counting we have the system inventory organization and the physical, and you can say the warehouse inventory, right? So suppose in our system inventory organization we have the 1000 quantity of this respective item, that is Tata 1001. But in our physical inventory, and you can say the physical, we have a warehouse, and the physical inventory count, the count, and the system inventory organization count are the same, right? So we have the some setups like create physical inventory. We have to create the snapshot one by one so that we can complete the physical inventory counting in our application, right? So the physical inventory is the process to verify whether the actual point for this inventory, right? So in this process we have to perform all these tasks, right? And during the physical inventory counting process, all the inventory transactions will be performed, right? But in the cycle inventory counting, at that time you can perform the tasks for shipping and all that, right? But in physical inventory counting we cannot perform the any moment of inventory, right? So all this process depend on the organization. How we perform the physical inventory counting depends on the organization to organization, right? So let's move to the application and we'll see one by one all the tasks, right? So search with the pairing 1001 and search. So 1001 is on hand quantity is 500 in our organization, right? But in sub inventory 1 we have the 200, sub inventory 2 have 200, right? So total we have the 500. So right. So and suppose we have the 400 quantity in our physical inventory. Suppose we have the 400 quantity in our physical area, physical inventory counting, right? So at that time we have to decrease 100 by 100 in our system, right? So how we can perform? So start from the create the physical inventory, right? So in order to count, click on this counts, and we have the manage physical inventories, right? Right. So let's define the name is, suppose we have the Tata underscore and y, the physical like New York physical inventory, physical NV, right? Tata New York physical inventory. Copy this one and paste it in the same into the description, right? And we have these sub inventories under this physical inventory. So we have the option, either we count sub inventory, all the sub inventory, or for the specific sub inventory you can define over here, right? So let's go with the all, and right. And in the same way we have the approvals. So what is the approval type? Suppose we have always approved, and you can define also the sequence, in which sequence you want to uh, count your physical inventory, right? Suppose first we have to count the item, secondly we have to count the sub inventory, and as per you know that we have the revision. You can go with also, but right now let's go with the blank. Click on this save and close. Right, because right, we have to define the default tag type, right? So what is the tag type? Both we have. Go with the, so to define the starting default tag, right? Suppose I am going to enter 1001, the same, right? No issue. Go with the save and close. It will create the physical inventory, right? So this is a physical inventory, and you can see the snapshot date is not display over here. Default type is always, and the sub inventory all, and posted adjustment posted we will perform at the end of this process. So let's perform the snapshot date. So in other words, we can define how much quantity are in our inventory, so physical inventory organization, right? So click on this action and click on this generate inventory snapshot. When we perform the task, after that rest of the tasks will enable, right? So select the snapshot and click on that, right? So it was submitted, okay, and the snapshot date is not display over here. Let's click on search and search for the, search it. Again click on search and click on search. Refresh. The search icon is let's turn, go outside and let's come again. Click on this. Right. You can see the snapshot date is today's date, right? Now we are, the next is generate tag. So how can we generate? Click on this action again and you can see all the option gets enabled. Click on this generate physical inventory tag, hit OK, right? So this way we can generate the tag, right? So it's completed, generate. Now go to the physical inventory tag listing report. So we have to go to the schedule process, go to the tools, go to the schedule process, and we have to schedule process. Now click on schedule new process. First, the task name is print inventory tag listing report. Click OK. Now we have to select our organization 001 and our physical inventory is our process ID 90492. You can copy, right? Let's paste it in the notepad. Let's refresh it. 0492 status is running and status is and click on this refresh till the status gets completed, and you can see the status is succeeded, right? So head down the run the physical inventory. Now let's record the physical inventory, right? So go to again this supply chain execution, click on this inventory management. Now click on this task list, click on this manage name is record physical inventory, right? Let's search for our inventory, right? So this is our physical inventory, and click on this action and we can record the physical inventory tags. Click on that, right? So we have to search our item. So search by the item, now starter, because we have the multiple seeded items in this inventory organization, right? Now search for that, and we don't have this 1001 ruler pairing, right? Because we have this item under the sub inventory 1, sub inventory 2 and sub inventory 4. That's why it will display 3 times, right? So how much 100, suppose 50 and 100 and 100, right? Suppose in our inventory we have inventory system, in our application we have the 500 quantity, but in a physical inventory we have the quantity, right? And different sub inventory have the different quantities, right? And sub inventory uh, 2 and 1 have the 100. This is sub inventory 1 and this is sub inventory 2, you can see over here, right? And so click on this save and close. right? Now let's perform the adjustment and the post adjustment, right? So click on this action and click on this approve physical inventory adjustment, right? So in the same way we have to search our item based, search for the item, right? No issue, right? So search for that and approve all the item, right? So select this one. You can see over here the adjustment status is pending, and this is our sub inventory 1, right? So I'm going to approve this request. In the same way we have to sub inventory 2 and sub inventory 4, we have, you can see, approved. This is sub inventory 4. I'm going to approve this one also, and this is the snapshot. You can see 200, 100. This is the snapshot of this application inventory, and this is counted by the person in our physical inventory, and this is adjustment quantities. You can see this is adjustment quantities. So this is also approved. Now this one I'm going to approve also, this one, right? This is snapshot quantity of your application. We already seen in our first slide of this while we were check this on hand quantity, and this is counted by the person in our physical inventory, right? So let's click on save and close, and we have approved this one. Now our last is post adjustment for this inventory. Click on this post adjustment, right? You cannot post even one and more tags are not recorded on the issue. Let's click on this approved. I think we have some issues. We have the multiple tags over here, right? Right, let's select data. So this one, click OK, search for that, right? No issue. Yeah, from this one it will goes to our post, right? No issue. Let's cancel out code and click on this post physical. I think it will show you the tag error. You cannot post it, just right. Now let's see on in quantity. Now let's see how on in quantity is created or not. When we select the single tag, it will perform easily, right? Click on this task list, click on this inventory, manage item quantities. Now search by the item, search it, still in the 500 quantity, no issue. click on that, go to the counts, manage physical inventory. Now let's search Tata. Right click on that, click on action and go to the record physical inventory tag. Search by the item. Let's search. Right. Now let's void this one. Void this one. Now go with the last one. This 50 is for the 7 entry 4, right? So I'm going to void and 7 close. I will uncheck this one by one so that it will perform the task. Let's click on action and click on this post physical inventory. Now it's sorry, yeah. Let's check one more time. Search by the item. Search. Let's void all the things. Now click on that, click on this post physical or upcoming session, right? No issue. So this is all about today's session where we cover the locator control, physical inventory counting, and